Hey, what's up guys? Jerome here from the Bonsai Supply, and I got a really cool Japanese maple here with me today. So I just acquired this tree. Well, I acquired it last year in October from my friend John Godfrey, but it was just now time to dig this tree up and bring it here to my studio. So this Japanese maple has been in the ground for about 14 years, and it was just allowed to grow up, get a little thicker, and then John just cut the canopy back to use these upper branches as cuttings. So he rooted these, or he used air layers, and then I guess he would sell them or turn them into bonsai or whatever. Now I was able to get the mother tree from him, and the reason why I took this tree is because it has an incredible root flare all the way around, very natural looking, and that's what we are after in bonsai. We want to have that nice root flare. So to find a Japanese maple that has that nice root flare and doesn't have any scars or large trunk chops is very rare, and it's what really drew me to this tree. Now this Japanese maple has about medium-sized leaves, and they come out bright red in the spring, then they turn green, and then in the fall the leaves turn that really fire red all the way across, and the foliage, the growth is also very dense. So it's a very cool variety of Japanese maple to work with. So today what we're going to do, we are going to work out some of the roots, and we're also going to chop back some of this top growth as well. We're going to have to shrink this tree big time. Now generally you would want to make these larger cuts that we are going to do here today. You would usually want to do them in the spring after the first growth has hardened off, and that's because you don't want to have any water loss or any sap loss coming out of the cut surfaces. So there's two things that we have to do here today in order to make sure that the tree can take what we're about to do. So when we make the cuts, we want to make sure that we never cut below a ring, and we always leave space for dieback that we can then later clean up in the spring. Once the new growth has pushed out and has hardened, we can come back in here and trim these sections back. So I am going to leave quite some large sections behind on this trunk, but I'm gonna reduce the tree already so that I can actually go ahead and pot it into a hopefully into a bonsai pot. I have two bonsai pot options today. If neither one of them work, then we'll have to put it into a box. But that's the idea here today, to work down the root ball. And what's really nice is that I have a lot of feeder roots in here, which is really nice to have. So first what we're going to do is we're going to cut back some of these large overgrown stuff that we know we're not going to use in the finished design. And the reason why we start to remove some overgrowth on the top is so that the tree doesn't topple over, because it is quite top heavy right now, because it just has a very small root ball to support all of that weight. So I'm going to take my reciprocating saw and just cut some sections off that I know guaranteed I'm not going to use these in the finished design. And then we're going to go ahead and work down the root ball. Basically what I want to do is bring this root ball probably another inch or 2 inches down, and then work my way up from the bottom and see how far I can go with this root ball. Alright, so I have my reciprocating saw ready, so I can make some of the large cuts up here. So the way that I go about making large cuts on a tree like that is fairly simple. So I start at the base. I decided that this is going to be the front, somewhere in there. Why? Because this main trunk has such nice movement all the way up to the top. So it comes to the right, then it comes to the left, it comes up, it comes forward towards the viewer, and that's exactly what we want. So this trunk is definitely going to be the main trunk, but up here it starts to fork. There's reverse taper up here, and it just becomes uninteresting right from here. So the first thing that we're going to do is cut right through here and here, because we know we're not going to use that. So let's just start right there. Alright, so now that this is gone, I'm going to move on to the next section that I guaranteed I'm not going to use in this design, and that will be this big branch in here. Why am I not using this branch? It's because the tree has nice movement, and then it just shoots over to the left, I guess your left, and that's kind of where it stays. So therefore I know this is an inside branch. I do not want to have any branches on here at the moment, so therefore I'm going to take this out. Also, it's too high up on the tree, therefore I'm not going to use it. And now this is a very important lesson to learn. Since it's not the ideal time to do this type of work, like I said, I have to cut back to a ring, leave the ring behind, as you can see here up close. Leave that ring behind and just cut right above that section so that it will not continue to die back past that section. Alright, so now when we look at the tree, we can see that this starts to take shape. Now this back branch here is way too heavy and it forks at the wrong section. If this trunk was thinner, I would keep it, but it is just the same thickness as this one. So therefore I know I cannot have two trunks that are the same thickness. It will not look aesthetically pleasing. So therefore I'm going to cut this guy back, but I'm going to cut it first here to see if that will help the finish the design. And if not, I can always work my way down. Now sections like this one that I know I'm not going to shorten this anymore today, immediately I'm going to seal this cut with cut paste. And once again, I left the ring behind just for dieback. And even if I have some dieback, I'm not really going to care because the next ring is right here. So it only dies back to the next ring. So just keep that in mind. So, and this is just liquid cut paste that I like to use on deciduous trees. And so I just use this to seal up this section here. All right, so the next decision that I have to make here is what am I going to do with these guys here? So there's 3 trunks that come out here, which kind of makes it look like a raft. I don't know, I don't think I'm going to keep it as a raft just because this main guy is so dominant. It would take away from these guys, and also they don't really have enough nice movement. So I'm going to go ahead and shorten these for now, about this size, because even if I keep them, I have to regrow them to match the movement of the main trunk. But for now I'm going to cut them short so that we can then go ahead and work on the roots, put it in the pot, and then see what it will look like. But for right now, the way that I'm leaning is that we're only going to keep this main guy with this really nice root spread. Alright, so now that we drastically reduced the root ball, we're going to go ahead now and take it into the studio and try to put it into the new pot and see which pot we're going to choose. I left a good amount, so I would say it's about 15 to 20% of the original root ball. As you know, I always like to leave the native soil for about a year or 2 after collecting or after repotting from a pre-bonsai into bonsai soil. And that's just so because the tree is used to this native soil. Now we're going to introduce it into fresh bonsai soil, and the tree can grow at its own pace from this root ball into the new soil at its own pace and time. And this is the safest way to do so. So let's go into the greenhouse and let's pot this guy up. All right, so I chose this blue oval pot for several reasons. Number one, it is large enough for the tree to fit. I measured the root spread across, and then I measured the pot, and it perfectly fits. So that's why I chose this pot, because of the size, and also I do like this old patina that this pot has. I've had this pot for about 15 years. My Brazilian rain tree was in this one before. My Hawaiian umbrella was in here at one point. Many trees that I've had have been in this pot at some point, and I always kept it. So I thought for this special Japanese maple, this pot would be perfect for it. I also like the blue glaze because the leaf colors on the tree are red when they come out in spring, turn to green, and then have that fiery truck engine red in the fall again. So I think the red and this dark blue with that white old patina, I think will be a really nice contrast. So now what I'm going to do is actually I'm going to set up the pot. I have these 4 large holes, drainage holes that I need to cover with a drainage screen, and then we're going to go ahead and pot this tree in here. And as always, I'm going to use our all-purpose bonsai soil mixture, put the tree on top, wiggle it down into position. Once it's in position, I'm going to take a look one more time at the whole tree structure to see which sections I have to shorten. And I do that always before I tie it down. Because once I tie it down, I'm not going to touch this tree again until it's fully leafed out. I mean, what I'm trying to say is that once it's tied in, I'm going to water it thoroughly and then put it away and not do any more cuts on it or anything like that. That might disturb the roots. So that's why I'm going to go ahead and do that first. So let's get to work. Alright, so if you look at the tree from this side, this main trunk is leaning forward so much that I thought I'm going to cut it right in here, make this a new apex, and then I have my top branch to the front right in here. So I think I'm going to cut this trunk right in half up here. Now we can see that I broke a branch right here. Whoopsie. Alright, so now that we can see that this trunk comes this way, comes up, and then right in here we could build the actual apex, and I think that's exactly what we want in here. So this guy's finished. I'm going to put cut paste on this cut surface right now. Alright, so now that we took off that top section there, a lot of things have changed now once I look at it from the front. So I am thinking of keeping this guy in the back here, but I am thinking of removing this guy right here and then keeping this one. So it will be like a triple trunk. It will look like a clump style of 3 trunks. The spacing is pretty good. I think this one is thick enough to take the center part. So I'm going to cut this guy off and then keep this guy shorter and regrow it to get more movement into here. So that's the plan right now. Alright, so now I think I like it a lot better. There's more spacing in here. I will shave this section down further. Once the first growth has hardened off the spring, I'm going to come in here and remove this section, make it smoother. And so here's my idea so far, to have this trunk in the front and have lower branches come out, have this guy in the back to fill out this back section here, and then have this guy over here obviously fill out this section here. So let me know what you guys think. I want to know if you guys would keep this trunk here to keep it in the front as a as kind of like a clump style, or if you will go ahead and remove this section completely and just keep the 2, or to remove this one and that one completely and just keep the main guy. So please let me know. Now let's go ahead and close up all of these sections here, and then we're going to go ahead and pot this guy into position. All right, so this tree is done for today. I went ahead and covered these sections that were exposed. The root ball was a little up in the air back here, so I added some sheet moss that I picked up at a in any big box store. This moss is dead, but once I start to water it and soak it, it will keep these areas moist and it will guide the new roots down into the soil. If I didn't have these moss up here, these moss sheets to cover these exposed root cut section, they would just dry up eventually. Even though I covered them with cut paste, like this, I will be able to keep them moist and the roots will be able to dip down. Now, obviously, the next time that I'm going to repot this tree, I'm going to dip it down further in the pot and further until this is completely flat in the pot. But I do love the size of the pot. I think this pot is perfect for this tree. I think this tree couldn't have turned out better today. This tree came straight out of the ground, straight into a bonsai pot, and this is, I think, as perfect as it can be for a tree that was grown in the ground, to be honest with you. So now, what I'm going to do here with the branches up here, I'm pretty much just going to leave that section alone. Once the tree starts to wake up, I'm going to just feed it, fertilize it, and just let it grow until the dormant period, which is in July. That's when I'm going to defoliate the tree and give this tree its very first styling, and then also work down these sections more. I'm going to keep this tree in here now until it warms up outside and it is steadily above 50 degrees Fahrenheit. I'll keep it in here above 40, so whatever happens, this tree can now go ahead and wake up inside this greenhouse now, and it's really safe for the tree. It doesn't have to go through this anymore or any more freezing for the roots, so this tree can safely recover. So I hope that you guys enjoyed today's video. Please let me know what you think of my new Japanese maple. I hope that you love it as much as I do. If you have any questions, please comment below in the comment section, and I will catch you guys next time.